Magic the Gathering is one of those things you go away and then you come back. It's like RuneScape. You never log off.
What is that example?
That's the crossover I want. The community deserves a better intro than that. Give them a shot.
All right. Whoa. Welcome to May the Zoo Be With You, Mark Rosewater's favorite TCG podcast. I am, of course, joined by our permanent guest, the king of hometown, home team, TCG, Josh.
It's hometown TCG. At least give him the pump he needs.
It's hometown, home team. It's all good. I am also, of course, joined by the man whose V9 pulsing through his veins at 9:30 at night.
They don't know. Who cares? They don't know what
just told them. Louis DeGeorge.
What's up? I didn't have to put my kids to bed tonight, so
That's why you're
ready
drunk.
To go. I'm not drunk. I'm just ready to go. I'm stoked.
We have an incredible podcast for you tonight. That was for you, Louis, because you wanted the intro.
Thank you. We're super excited to hang out with you guys today. Thank you so much for watching or listening. Make sure you hit subscribe and join along with us as we hop into all the TCGs that we love to talk about.
And subscribe and share with your friends, especially if they like Magic the Gathering or independent TCGs.
Or people bantering and hating on each other and arguing. I mean, if you like that, then
if you like that, baby, you've come to the right place. All right? There's 54 other episodes you should listen to as well if it helps any, if that's what you're into.
They didn't get good till last week, though.
Today. Also, Josh is a permanent member. For those of you in the comment section who thought he was a
permanent guest, that's why I introduced him as.
Is the intro over now? Am I allowed to speak? I don't know how this works.
Yeah. You will speak when we allow you.
Yeah. Aren't you glad you joined, Josh? You can tell me.
I just realized that our setup is different. Anyway, who cares? All right, today we are going to be talking about IP design and sacrifice. We'll talk about Universes Beyond a little bit for Magic the Gathering and talk about our thoughts on that. And then we're going to get into the print run numbers and speculation on Magic's print run numbers because that goes so well for us. And then
thank you, Rudy, for giving us the clearance to do so, baby. I appreciate that, though. Shout out to Rudy.
After we get through Magic stuff, we're going to talk about Genesis. George had a big Genesis event in the last couple weekends. Has been doing those. That's Genesis Battle of Champions. We're going to talk about Cryptic. There's been a great conversation about their 5-year plan. We want to discuss that a little bit before heading into MetaZoo's auxiliary products and doing a discussion on that. So let's start off with IP design and sacrifice. Some of you guys know this past week we heard from Mark Rosewater just a question. Would people be okay?
Wait. Hold on, real quick. He's going to be our guest next week to come and explain this to us. I don't want y'all to worry. If you have some thoughts about IP, put the questions below in the comments section so we can ask him next week when he's on. Continue, Louis. I'm sorry.
Yeah, right. So he basically said, asked a question, would people be okay with Star Wars in the set or in Magic the Gathering after somebody kind of alluded to that? So it's kind of started this conversation, but we also have a Warhammer set coming out and a Commander deck thing, and we have Fortnite now in Secret Layers.
And a third Dungeons and Dragons set, I'm sure.
We have Modern Horizons.
Lord of the Rings coming up.
Is Lord of the Rings. So they are doing this whole
God, they're going to kill Modern Horizons. They're going to do it.
Versus Beyond.
They're going to butcher Modern Horizons.
Oh gosh, that's a hot take.
Mark it down. Mark it down right now. Modern Horizons 3, the elves is going to be brutally bad.
Wow, that's a hot take.
That's spicy. You are wrong.
Yeah.
I remember people said they talk Commander Legends. How'd that go for everybody? You want some, Josh? Some
they have a whole new set of fetch lands they can reprint. They have a whole new set of fetch lands they can reprint in that set. That set ain't going nowhere.
Okay. I want to talk about IP design because I did a Star Wars Magic video today with have you guys seen this? If you didn't watch, George, I know you didn't watch my video. Josh,
I always watch your videos. It's great content.
I watch your videos every day.
Star Wars The Gathering. This is a card thing that was out a couple years ago. That's like a print and play thing that some people put together. One of the comments, though, I thought was a really good comment. They said Magic is cannibalizing their own IP with bringing all this, other games involved into Magic the Gathering. What are your guys' thoughts? Does it matter? Like, does it matter if you cannibalize your own IP to get access to some of these bigger IPs that are already like name brand?
Absolutely not.
No?
No, so this is the thing. Magic has shown time and time again that they're not into the IP business, right? There's no television shows, there's not really auxiliary toys. They're not printing binders or folders for your school. That's not what they do. They're not going there.
They're kind of bad at it.
Well, they've had the opportunity to go there. They've tried it and they're not doing it.
Yeah.
Lean into your strengths. They're like, nah, this isn't us. So what do they care?
When your best use of your IP is like a 2-minute promo video for War Spark,
the best use of your IP is the game in which you play, and it's good.
They have to get better at IP, and I do agree I do agree with your subscriber.
I hope you subscribe. If not,
subscribe. Hit the subscribe and that bell right next to it, so you can be notified whenever Louis makes a video. Got your back, Louis. Listen, let's separate this. I am all freaking in. I will mortgage the house for the Star Wars set.
Yeah,
all right,
that seems fair.
Me and Ollie will be homeless in downtown Charleston under our house of Darth Vader shaped magic cards. But
they're going to change the shape to the helmet.
If not, what are you doing?
It's gonna be a little helmet.
If you're not doing die cut magic cards for this set, I don't get the point of this. I'll be honest with you. Magic has to get better at IP because it's going to come back and haunt them. They're having to pay a ton of money because they suck at doing what they shouldn't suck at doing.
Yeah.
Star Wars IP is expensive. Lord of the Rings IP is expensive. They have to shell out all this money because they haven't made anybody care about Liliana.
But isn't it too late?
No.
I think it's too late. Now you have this in the game. Your
child can grow up with Liliana as a hero.
That'd be cool.
When has Magic suffered from not being good at IP?
Right now, when they have to pay $10 trillion to get Star Wars IP. Right now.
Yeah, but if you pay $10 trillion and in result you get more sales than you would have gotten with Liliana Masters,
or get your game in the hands of people who otherwise wouldn't buy it. It's the same concept as the Walking Dead secret lair. People bought that weren't Magic fans.
No, sir.
Yes,
people bought that people bought that because it was a unique card that was legal.
So that was
bad
twofold.
example.
There were people that bought it for that. There were also people that bought it and just put it on a shelf.
I would like everybody to know how proud I am that I knew that, by the way. Shout out to George. Shout out to George. You tried to bamboozle me with my Magic knowledge and you got served. Thank you. Bam!
I think what this does in bringing in these other IPs and bringing in these other things is it ruins people's experience who have been ingrained in the hobby. If you are a Magic the Gathering player for the last 20 years and you care about Urza, and if you watch the Magic Historian and you care about the
favorite guest, continue.
If you care about all that stuff, if that is your world, bringing in Darth Vader to fight against Liliana sucks. That's not fun. And that's I can see where you feel backstabbed. On the other side of that, though, I completely believe that by doing things like Warhammer and Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, you're going to bring in an entire another segment of a community that's not in Magic the Gathering, who's going to take a look at it and say, oh man, I tried playing the Star Wars TCG and it didn't work out and it's dead and there's nowhere for me to play that. And now I can play that under the skin of Magic the Gathering.
Seriously. Put in the comment section below if you know of a single D&D fan that had never played Magic before, but was like, oh, look, they have a D&D set. I want to learn me some Magic the Gathering.
It's hard to find anyone in that culture that hasn't played or experienced Magic at some point. Star Wars culture is a little Warhammer culture, Star Wars culture. It steps outside the box a little bit. D&D might be a little unfair for that reference, but I think you can't have it both ways. We can't sit here and say that we claim Magic has sucked at IP for 25 years or whatever, but now this is going to ruin the play experience for people who care about Urza and Liliana. Well, if they suck at IP, no one cares about Urza and Liliana. I
have pre-ordered 2 Warhammer decks at my store. 2 pre-orders. Both of them.
I'm going to get wrecked. I'm going to get so wrecked.
Both of them to the same person. The same person bought both decks. He came in and he said, hey, do you guys sell Warhammer? I said, nope. We are too small of a building to do Warhammer. You need all the table spaces. We don't do Warhammer. In the future, we will when we expand, blah, blah, blah. But there is a Magic the Gathering Commander deck coming out for Warhammer. oh, I don't play Magic. Okay, well, there's groups, I'm just trying to get him to buy something at my store now. Like, I'm trying to get him to
please, man, please, I need this.
Somebody came in.
I said expand, buy something.
No, but I tried, there were some people playing Commander. I said, hey, have you ever tried this? No, I've never done that. Hey, there's a Warhammer set coming out. He literally said, well, I'm not interested now, but if there's a Warhammer thing, let me pre-order one and I'll try it when I get it. And I think it does bring in new people. Just because it doesn't bring in your Dungeons and Dragons players doesn't mean that it hasn't brought in Dungeons and Dragons players. I also think that the space of Dungeons and Dragons is so much different than Lord of the Rings and Star Wars. We are talking about two completely different things right now, George.
That I agree with. But yes. I still like the problem you'll have with the Star Wars is that every nerd's a fan. Everybody's a fan.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's not a fan of Star Wars. Disney tried their hardest to kill Star Wars in the last movie. And they couldn't kill Star Wars. They tried their hardest to kill Star Wars in number 9. They couldn't do it. They couldn't do it.
To be fair, Lucasfilms also tried to kill Star Wars with their their 3 movies after the original movies.
Prequels.
Yeah, the prequels were horrible.
I'm not going to get into that with you. Just know I respectfully disagree.
There are 3 Star Wars movies in this world that matter. We all know what 3 matter.
No.
Anyway, Star Wars is so big. I don't think it'll have I don't think it will bring in enough passionate Magic people because there's Star Wars I have a Star Wars toaster. I didn't make me a fan of toast.
That's a good analogy.
I'm not oh look, honey, Darth Vader says to cook it longer. I'm a huge fan of my toast. That's not a thing. That's not a thing. That's not a thing. I'm a fan of Darth Vader.
No, that's a great analogy, but it's not fair. Some people feel emotional attachments to their collectibles in their cards, to their collectibles in their cards, not necessarily to their toaster. You're slapping Star Wars on something that's already intrinsically collectible and you care about.
I get the analogy.
Not a toaster, not an appliance.
I get the analogy. They would sell Star Wars. What's the Spaceballs line? Merchandising. We're the real money for the movies.
I had a Star Wars shower head. I'm not telling you you're wrong.
Yeah, and did it make you love showers more? Have you become a shower enthusiast?
My wife was in there for a long time now that I think about it.
But, no comments. No comments. Leave that one alone in the comments section. Continue, Louis.
You know what? Maybe it does bring people in. I do think it brings people. Maybe somebody who doesn't like showering. Here's your analogy. Somebody who doesn't like showering, if they love Star Wars and they get a Star Wars shower head, if they give a Star Wars shower head, they're all of a sudden excited to go shower because they like Star Wars. Same thing with if they never wanted to play Magic and now there's a Magic thing.
I'll be honest. Before that, I didn't know toast existed. I was just raw bread all the way. I just started to eat flour before that toaster. Now a whole new world.
All right,
whole new world.
Here, let's change the conversation. Where's the line? I'll start. I'll answer my own question. For me, I hope that the line is Commander decks. I think I would be okay with a 4-pack of Star Wars Commander decks that are all themed to Star Wars. And that's the game, and all the the new cards are Star Wars and whatever, and you can play Star Wars Commander. I think I would be okay with that. I think the line for me is if it's a standard set or a supplemental set, a whole thing, and all those cards now all of a sudden in Modern, I have to play Liliana Jace versus Darth Vader. I know who wins that fight. Darth Vader is obviously
is a whole nother argument. That's a whole other conversation.
I am a much bigger Star Wars fan than I am Magic the Gathering fan. I want it to be the year of Star Wars in 2023. Every set, every product is Star Wars themed. You heard it here first. I want the Ewok set. I want the Vader set. I want the Rey set. Feed me. I want Liliana to be Rey in this set. I want it all. I want everything Star Wars in 2023, Mark Rosewater.
Tell me you don't know what Liliana or Rey is without telling me that. When you say that Rey and Liliana are the same character.
Yeah.
What do you mean? What are you? They're the opposite characters.
Why?
They're opposite.
What is pretty evil?
Wait, is Liliana evil?
Yes. 100%.
Really?
Yes.
I don't want to paint her into a box or anything. Let's let her be herself. But
I did not know Liliana was evil.
Does that not look evil to you?
No, it looks like a green glow over a woman. I don't know.
She's definitely evil.
very
Okay,
evil.
well then
She makes
I don't
people
know.
sacrifice their creatures.
Let me
Well, I
hit you with a
didn't know that.
classic.
Okay,
Maybe
who's
the
a good person in Magic? Is Jace good?
Yeah. And
Good.
Gideon.
Replace
well,
Jace
Gideon-
with Ray. Are you happier now?
Rest in peace.
Gideon's fine.
Wait,
Gideon's
no,
dead. Gideon's dead, right?
Spoiler.
Spoiler alert.
Breaking news, dude. I was
For all
still
the
reading the graphic novel.
For all the people who care about the
Wait, is there a
lore.
Magic the Gathering novel?
Oh my god.
I don't think any of us know the answer to that question.
Yes, there's a bunch of them. They
No,
used
like comic book?
no,
Graphic novel?
No,
I don't
like
think graphic novel.
storybooks. Like
There were storybooks back then.
Yeah. I see this in the Magic Historians channel all the time.
Yeah, you can't call them fat packs, but the old fat packs, they came with a novel for the set.
I call them thin packs. Continue.
Yeah.
But I think they already did this perfectly. I think there's already been an example of perfect balance with this, and I don't know why they're going beyond this. Let's go back to Ikoria with the Godzilla characters having the alt art treatments, or Soren being Dracula. Why is that not just the baseline for this? Have every Magic card continue to exist as a Magic the Gathering card, and then have your alt art and special treatments take on that IP.
Listen,
They ain't paying that much money for an alt art in a single set. I can tell you that much, I'd bet.
here's my point.
How much
There's
do you
a
think
big-
they paid for Godzilla? I know it's not Star Wars money, but they paid a good amount.
It's also
I'm
like
sure.
I think it was also like fake Godzilla though. It was not like the main Godzilla. It was like
No,
the
it was
weird
real.
Godzilla.
It was
I'm pretty sure
Godzilla.
one of the cards was just Godzilla.
Yeah,
King of Monsters.
it was the real Godzilla.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Godzilla.
But here's the point: in Magic, you can imagine yourself fighting against a Godzilla-like creature. It doesn't take you
Yes.
out of the IP. It doesn't. It's not like just because you know what Godzilla is. It's a completely. Hold on, let me finish my point. It's a completely relevant thing in the space. What is like same thing? What was the other one that you just mentioned? Dracula. There are vampires in Magic the Gathering.
So you're saying it has to be like medieval fantasy type?
Yeah,
things,
Lord of
dragons.
the Rings works. Lord of
Sure.
the Rings works. There is not lightsabers in Magic the Gathering. I guess Neon Dynasty, they kind of transitioned that though, didn't they? Like they.
Oh my god. I have it. Everybody shut up. They need to do that neon red card as Darth Vader, and that's it. That's the entire thing. The neon red card with Darth Vader on it. I'm in.
Yeah, good game. Shut up and take my money. Like,
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
lose.
How many cases would you buy of that?
dude, if I would buy all the Star Wars.
All
Yeah.
of it.
All the Star Wars.
Yes.
All of it. That and Mark Rosewater, our number one fan, by the way. Thank you, Mark. This is why you need to do this, because
Yeah.
I will bring the Star Wars toaster from my house to the store so I can give everybody Star Wars toast while they play Magic the Gathering. I will deck out the store in Star Wars.
So you don't feel like this sacrifices anything for Magic the Gathering?
I don't care if it does. I want Star Wars.
I think it's how it's handled. I think if it's handled like in the way that I suggested, because I truly believe what I suggest. I don't just throw things out there. I think that if it's handled that way, it's in a good spot. I love that. But if they take the whole set and it's not a block, it's a single set, and just the single set is dropped in Star Wars, that will hurt the fantasy play.
A Star Wars block would be amazing.
And that's something we talked about. Block, we're like, you can't stick in a block because what if the theme doesn't hit? This theme would hit. We all just said we would sell everything we own and buy it. You can do this for a block.
So I think two things.
For a year.
I think
this Star Wars I won't buy.
I think the whole
think that's
Universes Beyond thing is going to do two things. I think it's going to upset a lot of people. I think it already has upset a lot of people who will go away. But Magic the Gathering is one of those things you go away and then you come back. And that will
It's 2 years,
Wait,
right?
really?
Yeah.
Go away
Say
for
that again,
2
Louie. I
years
missed
and-
that.
Magic is one of those. I have quit Magic the Gathering 4 times now in my life.
I have been an unlucky witness to this quitting of Magic the Gathering.
You come back like it's like RuneScape. You never
no.
log off.
What is
No.
that example?
That's the crossover I want. That's the Universes Beyond that
All
I
right,
want.
this is just a therapy session now. Okay,
So-
Rudy also. So Rudy came in hot with a video this week.
Oh, we're transitioning. Everyone,
That was a transition.
We are transitioning.
He did some speculation on print runs and business practices between WotC and Amazon.
Interesting.
Yep. And so his takeaway was exactly what I believe a fat man said last week on the podcast, roughly the same numbers.
Did you say it on the podcast or was it?
Yes. And you yelled at me. You were like, no, that's not what Rudy said. Well, it was exactly what he said.
That sounds like something I would do.
Yeah. There's
I probably piled on.
Yeah, bingo, both of you bozos. So his theory was for Kamigawa, there's between 500,000 and 700,000 total boxes.
Okay.
Total boxes. Mm-hmm. Draft, set, collector, non-English. Does not include bundles, Louis, not fat packs. Doesn't include
Arena
theme decks. Doesn't include
they sold like
commander decks.
They sold like 6 theme decks, or theme packs.
That's the new store tax, because your rep's going to ask you how many theme decks you want.
None. I've never taken any theme decks.
You're going to be like, I'll take 6.
You know who those are for? Those theme decks? They're for your grandmother at Walmart who wants to buy you something nice before she comes over to your house. Yeah. And you get it and you're like, oh, thanks.
I needed some more commons.
Yeah, I needed bulk to turn in for 25 cents.
Okay, this is not a conversation about theme decks. So
is that the new title for this section? 'Cause I think it should be.
All right. So what, George? Tell me what were your initial thoughts on? Let's call it 7,500 boxes.
That's very low, 7,500. That is a stunningly low number.
Magic cards are multiplying in the community.
Everything is going to the moon, boys.
700.
I'm a billionaire. I'll see you suckers on the spaceship.
750,000 boxes,
which nobody has said, but I add. So
what was
5 to 700,000? So you're doing great. First of all,
right. Let's go 700,000.
I had a few. My first thought was that doesn't shock me. Like that's about what I thought it was going to be. But I also thought about like how restrained Magic is with their print runs, and I think that gave me a lot of new respect for them. I mean this. They could easily print 1 million collector boosters for Double Masters and sell all of them with no problem. Like
not at the current price, not at the current market price, but
up to the stores.
Oh no, the price of the stores. I'm saying on the open market they wouldn't be selling at that price.
Yeah, they probably be like $250.
But they would sell.
I mean, I would take everyone they would offer me. Everyone, no question.
I am begging this week. I did like a massive restock order just so I could get more Double Masters collector boxes.
That's how it works.
I was restocking Crimson Vow. Like that's how much I was like. Just what else do I need to buy to get 6 more boxes? Yeah,
gross. Gross.
I was desperate.
But like WotC doesn't do that because they value the collectability of the box, and I think they deserve credit for that. You disagree?
I don't disagree. I think WotC is really, really good at waves. I think Wizards of the Coast is really, really good at waves. But I know where you're getting at, and I think comparing it, like one of the comparisons to like newer games, WotC has much more pull at their printers than any of the newer games have. Yes, they do.
That's true, but that's also irrelevant because their waves are so much bigger.
Yeah, but like they have a lot of
their waves are the size of the print runs for most of these new games,
right?
And sometimes 5 times the print run of these new games,
right?
Shout out to Tanner.
They have a really, really great. They have a long relationship with their printers, and they have the ability to print things in a different way. So I think that has a lot of merit. Like they can get more things printed than other games can. So that's one thing. I think the total number is less than I thought it would be by a considerable amount. It makes me feel like the TCG community is much smaller than I imagined that it would be.
I think that is absolutely true. I also had that thought when I was looking at 700,000 boxes. Like, first of all, my store's bigger than I thought it was. Second of all, I'm like, this is a much smaller community than I anticipated because that's not a lot of boxes.
No, like if you compare, and somebody said, "What do you compare?" Because I talked about this in my video, and one of the comments said, "Compared to what?" And I was like, "Well, compared to video games,
yeah,
like 700,000 copies sold of a game would be like not
great,
like nothing at all. Not even like a spark in the eye of a game designer creator. Like if you compare it to that kind of market, or some other like sports fans, if you compare the amount of people who play TCGs, the amount of people who watch basketball or go to a basketball game, it's insane. Like the TCG hobby is just much smaller than I thought it would be, and that was my big takeaway from that, and that makes it really, really difficult to grow as as a business, both Magic and all these other TCGs that we talk about. Like the growth rate is just tiny, in my opinion, on what can be for these games.
Magic also benefits from something that a lot of other TCGs, especially indie TCGs, in my opinion, don't get the benefit of. Because the community is so large, there's a fewer number of people that just go to the LGS, go to Amazon or wherever and buy and crack boxes for cards, right? A lot of these indie TCGs, if you're an avid fan, you're going day one, you're buying boxes, you're cracking boxes, you're chasing cards, you're putting them on the open market. There's much fewer people. For as many Magic players as we have, I don't see as many people walking into the LGS and saying, I'll take a case of this product. I'll take a case of this product.
Well, wait a minute. I think that's because Magic has a smart design for the booster box.
Well, you disagreed with me, George. You said that your store opens a lot of boxes.
We open boxes, but nobody buys a case.
Gotcha. Okay.
Like their booster boxes tend to have what you need, or you have enough to trade for.
Right.
It's a relatively new thing that like people have to buy a case to get a case card. That's a sports card thing, really. And that doesn't really, I think that's kind of dangerous in TCGs, because it makes that case card, especially if it's a unique ability, hard to obtain.
Right.
I tend to like the way that the Magic booster boxes are set up, especially the set boosters, because you get the rares and mythics that you want, or you get the ones you can trade for, and that's good.
Sure, but let's break it down. If you're a standard player, right, which is the most recent Magic sets, you're playing the game with the most recent Magic sets. First of all, you're not playing in paper, you're playing on Arena, so you're irrelevant. But even if you are playing in paper, most of the cards in standard sets, if you're a player, are so affordable, it doesn't behoove you to buy the booster box, because there will only be 2 rares and 3 mythics out of those boxes that you're going to play decks with. So it doesn't behoove you.
Oh, I hear what you're saying now. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you're a pioneer player, a modern, any kind of legacy card game player, right, these eternal formats, you're definitely not buying the booster box, because there's possibly 1 or 2 cards that are going to impact your format in a meaningful way. So those players aren't buying the boxes. And I'll be darned if Commander players are cracking this product, because you want a one of that you're going to chase. You're going to open a box and try to hit your one of Commander.
Packs. People like cracking packs.
But that is fine. People buy packs and crack packs, but there's no reason to go and buy a box. If you're playing Genesis, most people don't have a giant Genesis collection, and the community is not millions of players deep to where you could reach into where people can reach into any pool and pick these cards from. Magic has those advantages. So it's just a weird niche scenario where these players don't have to buy the box. Now, do people like cracking packs? Sure. People are going to buy these things and crack them. Heck, I do it. But the players don't buy and crack boxes.
Right. It's definitely more better and nobody's arguing this, to buy singles than open boxes.
Sure, but some people, even in Magic games, they don't. They know it's better. They still just don't.
So I need to eat some crow. Louis gonna die.
Sorry.
Yeah.
This
wouldn't be a podcast without me coughing on it.
True.
I forget, you mocked me for long COVID, right? Is that right?
Yeah, no, I definitely have long COVID.
Okay, good. And you mocked me when I had it, right?
Yeah, okay, come on, get over the. I'm
terrible. Yeah, that's right. I, on this very podcast, might I add, was not very kind to a certain booster box that Magic the Gathering created called the Collector Booster Box. It is time for George to eat some crow.
Yeah.
They're genius. Because here is what they've done. They have said, I have a booster box to play with. You can only play with this box. This box will not have value unless you're playing the game with it through a specific format that stores need to stay alive. They have another booster box. It's like, I will get you the cards you need to play. These is a box a player will buy, and it will have good stuff in it that you can play or trade with.
Sure.
But it's going to be the crappy version.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to have something for you fat cats who want to flex.
Or people just want to crack packs.
Yeah. And they have separated it out, that fat cats and collectors from the players, and preserved what each of them love through their separate booster boxes. And it's freaking genius. And I missed it, and I got to eat crow on that one.
So, Louis, they can only do this because of the size of the player. I agree with George. The boxes are spread out greatly, but they can only make that happen because the player base is huge.
So this is what I'm looking up right now. And the research, this is from 2 articles. One was from 2018 that says that there are 35 million Magic the Gathering players. This one is updated in April of 2022 that says there are 40 million Magic Gathering.
Josh's and I jokes last week were shockingly accurate. I want you all to reflect that.
I was about to say, I think I was going to project 70 million this week, so I'm good with the 70 million.
And then there's another article that says 35 million. So between 35 and 40 million is the projected. I have no clue where those stats are. I was trying to read through it. But
if that's true, that's stunning.
But here's the thing, that doesn't surprise me based on if you say 800,000, sorry, I keep going to 800,000. If you say 700,000 boxes, my gut is that the vast majority of Magic the Gathering players don't open a box. And
I think that's true. I think that's true.
Most Magic the Gathering players, in my opinion, go to a Walmart and they buy a few packs, or they buy or
they support their LGS.
I said most Magic the Gathering players. They don't go to the LGS. They play at the kitchen table. That is
mostly an arena.
That could be true too. But
boo,
like I think,
Josh, boo.
I think a lot of people just
to my face, do it behind my back like a normal person.
Don't end up at an LGS. And if you are one of those people who plays Magic the Gathering and doesn't end up at an LGS, I'd encourage you to go to an LGS. Particularly if you are in, Hurricane, West Virginia, you could go to Cowden's Market.
So you definitely think people are buying packs over boxes then, for sure?
Yeah, I mean, for my LGS, that's 100% true. We sell very few boxes.
I think that's a great take. More people buy Magic packs than other games, for sure. Just like loose packs, 100%.
Yeah. Well, because the packs can have anything in them. And
right.
In other games, especially with these newer games that have the high chase, you don't trust the packs. This is what I feel about this is an issue I have with collector packs. Particularly with the D&D set, if you pulled, I opened a box and sold packs. I sold 2 packs, and somebody pulled the full, ancient Copper Dragon box topper, full hollow special edition.
Full Monty.
Nobody's
baller.
touched one of those packs in that box since then. There's 9 packs sitting there because they already pulled the chase card. And so I think that's the issue with all the newer TCGs. They don't trust loose packs because, especially after something gets pulled, it's like the rest of the box is kind of going to be worthless. But Magic, most of the product, other than collector packs, most of the product is spread out. You're not going to have that issue.
Okay, so let me ask y'all another question here. Me and Mr. Ben from your Discord, who is a friend of mine, he says that he saves draft booster boxes because he thinks they'll have value because they're always going to be playable.
Yeah.
I hold collector booster boxes because I am a greedy capitalist, as we discussed last week, and it takes up less room.
Mm-hmm.
Which one of us is smart? Which one of us is dumb?
I do both of those things. I don't hold any set boxes.
Really?
Same. Yep.
Same.
Okay, so I got to ask why. Like that's interesting to me.
So I was thinking about this today. Why invest? There's a whole I gotta get off Reddit. There's a whole Reddit thread about sealed box investing and how It's stupid because it doesn't. Even if it does outpace the S&P 500, you have to then sell the boxes and shipping and fees and handling.
Right.
And it's 100% right. The reason that I will still buy Magic the Gathering boxes is because, to be fair, I never have any intention of selling them. Like, I buy boxes because I want to play the game with my friends in the future. We just did this past weekend at the shop a War of Spark draft. It was, and now I own a shop, so that idea has changed for me. Like, originally it was so me and my friends could draft at home. Now, like, me and my friends draft at the shop and they pay. It's different. Thanks, friends. But we did a War of the Spark draft. Everybody had a blast. They got to draft something different. There hasn't been like we don't have any double Masters draft boxes because my distributor doesn't give them to me. But so we can't draft double Masters.
This is a therapy session.
Nobody wants to do New Capenna. Like, it allows you to play the game in the future in a different way and go back and relive some of your favorite sets in the past.
We had a Theros Beyond Death draft, and it was a banger, and I wanted to murder all of them because I begged them to draft the set when it came out, and everybody refused.
Yeah, but like that is a value for the draft boxes that doesn't exist in set boxes and won't exist in collector boxes, that I think gets underappreciated, especially when you look at like Rudy's numbers and think like, oh man, the number of draft boxes is very low. If you look at individually that line of the number one set having 170 or what was it 100 250,000,
yeah, something like that.
That specific line item being so in a $35 million player game, that's a really small number thinking that way. So I don't know. I like draft boxes. Collector boxes, I think value wise are there, and then they take up less room, which is amazing. Like amazing.
Higher ceiling on collectors, but draft is a little more safer because you truly are investing in the experience. And as long as the game is still around, people like me will value the experience, will want to play the game, will get people together to do it. Collector boxes are vulnerable to things like bans. Like, nobody wants to chase a banned card, even if it's a chase card, right? They don't. So if you
is that true? Like, Zendikar Rising, like the big chase used to be Omnath, and like last time I checked, Zendikar Rising collectors were doing all right.
So there's values there. There's box toppers there, and also Omnath is crazy playable in Modern. So it got banned in Standard, which is the least popular format in paper, and then it became like the top tier deck and the most.
It's also super popular Commander.
That makes sense.
100%.
You know why, right?
What?
You know why, right?
Because it's broken.
Because it's broken.
Yeah, no, it's so good. It's ridiculous.
That's
why it slaps in Modern. It's a 4-drop that slaps in Modern. Most 4-drops in Modern are just
that card is so broken. I know it's broken.
It's got
that's how you know it's like real broken.
Somebody dropped an Oko at Commander tonight. I was just like hanging out the shop.
Get him out. I think right there, boom, right there. Oko is a great example. Oko's banned in almost everything, so nobody's chasing Okos right now. Nobody's opening those collector boxes. They're not.
The Commander table did not like it.
Boxes are through the roof, brother. They're through the roof.
And now imagine if Oko's not banned.
So this is fair. Both of you are. This is why Commander is such a great format for Magic the Gathering. It doesn't matter for the collectors and investors. It doesn't matter if the card's banned in Modern or Pauper or whatever it's banned in. If it can be played in Commander, this is why
nobody will care if anything is ever.
Emrakul from Double Masters
that will not affect a single box.
Emrakul from Double Masters has not performed super well in this set because it's played in Modern. But nobody plays Modern. It's banned in Commander, and so you can't play it.
Nobody plays what?
Nobody plays Modern.
I knew that was coming.
Is a hot take. That right there, that might be the hottest take you've ever. Nobody plays Modern.
I was joking. Okay. Nobody plays Modern in my story.
Like, get on the couch already, man. What is going on? I think it's a different investment, but I'm with you. We actually had a conversation about this before we started any podcast on the phone at like 1:30 in the morning, and we both agreed the same things. Set boxes are weird. They're weird as far as sealed investing.
So let me say this. Can you let me say something before you interrupt me?
Fine.
Public interrupt me. I think set boxes are the best boxes to open when a set is currently in rotation. They're
fun too.
They're fun. It's relatively cheap. I think the list slot is really cool.
The list is neat.
I think long term, you won't remember what's on the list, and no one's going to remember. There's a million cards on the list. It changes all the time. It changes for every set, and it's too hard to keep track of. It's not like a box hopper where Zendikar Rising, you have your expedition box hopper. So I don't like the list slot for investing long term, and also the pull rates are just too low. And then the set thing, it just doesn't have the ability to play games with. So what were you going to say, George?
Let me ask you this then. If people aren't collecting set boosters, won't they be the best collectible then? If nobody's collecting them, won't they be the rarest thing that people that are out there? And
that's
people will
fair. That's not a bad take. That's fair.
None of my takes have ever been bad. Thank you, Josh, for agreeing with me. Continue, Louis.
But George, you have to remember, this is the problem with a lot of other things. You have to have somebody on the other end of your investment that wants the product. And on the other end,
buyouts always work, Louis.
On the other end of a draft booster box is somebody who, think about your Zendikar, original Zendikar boxes. Somebody who might want to do a real expensive draft with their friends to celebrate Zendikar, to celebrate their 30th birthday, to get their friends together and draft a $2,000 Zendikar box.
This is really specific. Let's say it's next Thursday and they're in Hurricane, West Virginia.
No, it's Hurricane. They say hurricanes as hurricane, but they pronounce the city as hurricane. Isn't that amazing?
What if they wanted to relive the last Zendikar before Zendikar, the Star Wars Empire, comes out?
Yeah. But that's a sale, and then the collector box, maybe, I don't know what the collector one is. They want to do a high-end collector opening, and that's the one they're going to go with.
The collector one's driven by these chase cards, right?
Yeah, 100%.
It's 100%. The Legends pulls and the chase cards. Bingo. Dominaria United. It's the Brothers War coming up. It's the Kamigawa Neon Ink cards.
Why?
Yeah. Huh?
I was waiting for the Brothers of Wars to be the set of the year rant from you.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Brothers of Wars is going to be the set of the year.
It'll be right up there with Dominaria United. It'll be right there.
So I think Josh is a great point. The collector boxes, particularly the ones that have exclusive cards, Kamigawa and Dominaria, are going to be better investments long term than even
Double Masters with the etched foils, like stuff like that. Yes. It's the first time they're doing it. Stuff like that's just sick.
I will warn, Master sets historically have not done as well as other boxes.
That's true. They have it because they get reprinted so much.
Yeah.
Even Double Masters VIP packs.
Yeah, no, those are weird because they started off at higher price point, but you do much better holding Throne.
Really?
Yeah, look at Ultimate Masters. It can't break over $500 a box.
Yeah. I don't have stores or millions of dollars like you guys. I just sling cardboard, so.
I love Ultimate Masters. I think that's great. Anyway, this is a great point. Nobody has a connection to playing Ultimate Masters.
Yeah. That's a great point. Yeah, true.
You have the connection to playing one or two drafts, but because the print run of these master sets are so scarce and limited, and because stores are so, they don't want to do a draft, they want to sell the box because it's easy sales and they can jack up the price. You don't have that kind of intrinsic addiction and connection to a set that has themed. Going back to the IP, this is one of those things. Like going back to the IP thing, I loved War of Spark because I remember going to pre-release. I remember loving the Planeswalker in every pack thing and being ingrained in the story from the big whole the video that they did. So I think that's a big difference between that and the master sets. You don't have that kind of desire to go back to draft a master set that you do with a thematic set.
Let me ask you guys from a store's perspective then, with running different Magic events, are you seeing a lot of cross-population between people playing your constructed deck events and people playing your limited formats? Or are you seeing people 100%. Dedicated just to limited?
No.
Okay.
100%. I don't know anybody who plays one or the other.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't. I've only been doing Magic events for a couple months, so I think for us it's mostly limited is what we do. We do mostly draft, but Commander and draft. It's people like hanging out at the LGS on a Friday night. This is why we. This is why we do draft on Friday night. Because you can roll in. You don't have to have a standard deck. You don't have to have any specific thing, and you can roll in with your $15 and play Magic and get some cards. It's a great experience. So
is there value for stores then themselves, not even just independent investors, I think stores, to keep these draft boxes over anything else because they're going to bring players in for special events?
1,000%. when distributors do something called last call, and I will like basically spend my account to zero every time buying last call Magic products.
Yeah.
Just to bring players back in 6 months, a year, 2 years for.
I have sets going back 5 years now.
Yeah.
That's
and like,
cool.
you know, and like it brings them in. We are packed.
Yeah. It's special. It's something unique, different, something to get you over the humps of not having a new set. I know Magic, like there's so many times when you don't
Not having a new Magic set. Like the last Tuesday, because here comes one tomorrow.
All right. Let's transition this over to the newer games and talking about print numbers and moving on.
I had the most fascinating event of my source history, I think.
Yeah.
We had an Origins release party
For Genesis, Battle of Champions.
Yep. If you don't know that,
Genesis Battle.
I'm sure that there are people who don't know what that is, George. They don't watch us every week. Maybe this is somebody's first time watching us.
Why don't you be your first week? I apologize.
Why don't you be a little bit more
welcome,
inclusive to the new viewers?
Josh is our guest this week. Louis is the one who's been mean to me so far. Welcome.
And make sure you subscribe.
Subscribe, hit the
Share
bell.
this with your Magic friend.
We're on Spotify. We're on YouTube.
Go watch.
We're on other platforms, I'm guessing.
This is making me cringe as I sit here.
George has no clue where we are.
I'm
no clue.
physically uncomfortable.
I have no idea where we are. That could have all been a lie. Wherever you're listening to us, that's where you can find us.
You can find us next week on Impulsive.
Yeah, next week I'll be the star of Impulsive.
And I'll be the guest again.
Bingo. Now we've nailed it. Nailed it.
Get on with your Genesis fans.
So first we sold out instantly. We sold out in 12 hours.
Sold out of what?
Of Origins. I had to order restock right away.
Okay.
We sold 60 boxes in 12 hours.
Okay.
It was great.
What was your event?
It was a 6-pack sealed event, limited event.
Huh.
Okay.
That's cool.
Assad helped me set it up because I don't know what I'm doing because, you know, it's playing games versus speculating in games, and that's not my jam.
Yeah.
As you all know.
Sure.
And the...
So you get 6 packs, you build your deck, and it's 1-on-1?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you know, they have their software. They can do they do them in pairs. And
right.
I learned a lot about what I think is making Genesis very successful. And I think there's a lot of lessons for these other new TCGs that I want to go through. And this relates to the Rudy video about the print runs and where I think a lot of people are getting stuff wrong. All right. So bear with me. I'm going to use Genesis as a roadmap that other new TCGs should at least pay attention to.
Can't wait.
Okay. I noticed something very weird with my Genesis boxes. A grand total of 0 people called it a new asset class. A grand total of 0 people said, "Hey, George, can I buy a case? I want to put it away for 100 years and retire my grandson with it."
If this game's around in 10 years.
Right. Nobody said that. Nobody said that. None.
Gosh, the Time Spiral remastered box is amazing.
I would never say that.
And like, this is where I think other card games are getting bad information. If you have a bunch of people, I'm guilty of this. If you have a bunch of people who buy a bunch of boxes from Spain and put them in their warehouse because they think those boxes will appreciate quickly and in the future, that's not real demand. That's not real demand.
You are guilty of this, though. I'm glad.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a fat man trying to make a tendy.
George is learning. Gosh, this should be just a therapy session. We should just call this. Should this episode be therapy with Minazubi with you?
Flip.
So there was a very famous economist out of the University of Chicago with your Cubs hat called named Eugene Fama.
They couldn't have found a better city.
And he created the efficient market hypothesis.
Oh God!
And all this says,
sorry, I'm gonna get yelled at in the comment section for interrupting you. I'm sorry, everyone. I will just say sorry now instead of the comments. I'm sorry. Continue, George. I'm just making jokes. I'm sorry.
All this says is the market takes into account all publicly known information. There's a strong theory, a weak theory of it, but let's just for our simplicity's sake, the market is right because it takes into account all available information. That's the 30,000 view. If you want to debate weak version, strong version, or semi-strong version, go find your economics professor who cares. That's not George. You got to pay me for that. And I think this is what the problem these new TCGs are facing. They're looking at their boxes go from worthless to worth $1 trillion in 15 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And they're saying, oh my God, there is so much more demand. I have wildly underprinted. I won't make that mistake again.
And there's money to be made in overprinting.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. I can hit this green button, make more money than I've ever seen in my life.
Because the market doesn't react to it until it's too late. Right.
I think it's funny. I thought about this the whole freaking way home. I thought about this comic book I had when I was a kid. It was called The Death of Superman. This is probably before y'all's time.
I don't do comics.
Superman was going to die in this comic book. And it was all the craze. The news was covering it. Everybody was covering it. And everybody was like, if you buy this comic book, in 10 years, you're going to be a millionaire. The last time Superman died in a comic book, that comic's now worth $1 million. How could this not be worth half that? It's worthless.
Yeah.
Because everybody bought it. Yeah. And everybody put it away. There's 10,000 copies graded 9.8.
It happened with Beanie Babies.
Yeah. Happened with 90 sports cards.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because there wasn't real demand. There was speculation BS. They weren't opening the boxes and playing with it. They weren't trading the cards. They were shoving the cards in a storage unit. I think that is what these games are running into. And I think where I think Genesis is doing very well is they're avoiding that. Now they're avoiding that at the cost of rapid growth.
Yeah. We've talked about this.
Mm-hmm. But let me tell you something. I know Genesis will be here in 2 years.
As long as they continue. Yeah. As long as they continue. As long as they continue to do what they are currently doing, which there's nothing to say that they aren't. But as long as they continue to look at it that way, rather than seeing the attendees and saying, okay, we need to print more. But there aren't attendees, is what you're saying.
And there can be, but here is my point to these companies. If you're going to kill your game by overprinting, just sell your company instead. Cash out. Really cash out. Don't BS cash out. Really cash out.
Yeah.
And I'll be candid. I know we're gonna talk about Cryptic in a minute here, but I had this conversation with Tanner. That listen, here's I believe in Tanner. I'm gonna go over why I believe in Tanner in a minute. But I told him
I was so right about Tanner.
The number one thing that scares me about Cryptic is that their boxes are $10 trillion and they haven't produced a box yet.
Yeah.
The faster these games prices go up, the faster they go down. And I told him this. I've now seen that movie 3 times. I don't need to see it for a 4th. These games need to figure out actual demand. How many boxes are being opened, cracked, and played with? Because that's how many people actually want your product. Go ahead. My rant's over.
Can I give you a... Oh, go ahead, Louis.
Just.
I think these games need to try to be Magic the Gathering and not Pokemon. Pokemon's the opposite of this. The demand is in opening the packs. And if you go and look at all of the Pokemon content creators with a very small, there's a pretty big Pokemon creator who I follow, and he did a live stream, and he had 16 people watching his live stream of him playing the game. When I do a live stream, I get 60 to 70, and he has 30 times the subscriber to me. There was 16 people watching him. Nobody cares about them playing the game. Now, I do like playing Pokemon now. I won't get into that. But the point is that the vast majority
you did a learn
of people,
to play event last week. That's great.
The vast majority of people just want to crack the packs to collect. But that is what a lot of these games anticipate, I think. And the reality is like Magic's perspective of like the player base. Anyway, we got this wrong in a lot of ways previously on the podcast.
So, George, you kind of threw back to a point you made earlier, which was really good when we were talking about holding draft boxes versus collector boxes. And you made the comment like, hey, doesn't the fact that nobody's collecting or nobody should be collecting set boxes make them a valuable asset class? And in this space, especially collectibles, something that makes something a valuable asset class is its limited availability. Right. And for that to happen, you have to not see it coming. So there's instant red flags when people are like, this is going to be worth $1 million in 10 years. So I think that's a good point. But I don't think the games can live solely off that. You have to have some kind of a community that's wanting this product, that's collecting this product, whether it be sealed, whether it be singled. So, you can't be all players. It's a symbiotic relationship, and people need to live somewhere on that spectrum.
I agree with that, and here is how Genesis handles that, and I think they handle it better than anybody.
Okay.
The value is in the packs, not in sealed. And here's what I mean by that. They have secret rares. There's a whole bunch of cards that are in that $20 to $30 price point. They have, if you have a Kickstarter, there's these pre-alpha cards. There's exclusive Kickstarter cards. There's these things that add value to the box, but people play with it enough that you can bling out your deck, and that's where the value comes from.
I think a better analogy for you, George, is Tsunami, the card Tsunami.
Yes, that's a great example.
That's a better example than some. We don't know the value of a Genesis card yet, and we won't know the value of a Genesis card until they are on TCG Player. We saw this with MetaZoo. When MetaZoo got put on TCG Player, we saw the actual prices of cards compared to what things were selling for on Facebook and in other world, and that's why we've seen some of the prices change and go down, because now the cat's out of the bag.
Cat's out of the bag.
Emperor has no clothes. Whatever. You see the price of some of the cards.
Jesus Christ.
But in a game like Genesis, there's already a community going on, and we see like people post Tsunamis, and they can't. There's not enough Tsunamis for the current player base, and that adds an intrinsic value to the game. That says, hey, no, these boxes do matter. What's inside the box does matter. And this is something that I think, if you don't like that, if you want all cards to be cheap, then what you're looking for is a living card game. And in a trading card game, there has to be value in order for the setup to work. You need value in trading card games.
So I 100% agree with you, but my brain just goes to this point where, okay, I'm a Genesis player, and like I said, I fall somewhere on that spectrum of evil investor, I care about my money, and full player. Nobody wants their cards to be worthless, and nobody wants to collect stuff for a game that nobody plays, right? There's somewhere in there you have to meet in the middle. And if these cards the community is strong and growing, and the boxes are a really controlled print, and it's a controlled print run, as a Genesis player, it's hard for me in my head not to flip a switch and be like, let me put a box on my shelf.
So here's, I think, the difference. I think some players will put a box on their shelf. That won't shock me at all.
Right.
What I don't think you're going to do is have people walk into my LGS tomorrow and say, hey, I know you're friends with Assad. Can you order me 30 cases?
Yeah.
I want to put my kid through college.
Yeah, that kind of assurance of like...
That doesn't that's not happening with Genesis.
Just out of curiosity, George, why not?
Because
that's not the culture Assad has created in the game.
Bingo. I mean, the reprint of J2, which I thought was interesting. The reprint of so there's Jalara 2nd edition, and then there's another Jalara 2nd edition print 2. that basically was like, hey, if you were investing in Jolar second edition, well, womp womp. Like you lost a lot of money.
Boom roasted.
Because here's the same thing, but even a little bit better. And it came out because he cares that players are able to get the cards that they need, and like that set a culture, that set a tone. He didn't lean into the we're sold out, so yay. He wants the game to be. So I think it's a culture thing.
Assad is building this company for 10 years from now,
but and it sounds like he's doing a great job. So shout out to Joey. Over at Dexter Drive. He actually reached out to me after episode 1 and said, hey, I'm willing to sit down and teach you kind of about what Genesis has going on.
Did he call you a guest?
No.
That's too bad. Joey, come on, buddy. Come on, go ahead.
So they're doing a good job of like, hey, if people are talking about my game, we're willing to go above and beyond and get them informed and get them understanding kind of what our vision is. Yeah. And that's really, but if everything you're saying is so driven by that, how is there not someone somewhere that's like, hey, George, give me 30 cases. I'm going to put my kid through college.
Listen, there are. I mean, I know somebody. I currently own, I think, 4 beta boxes. I think like I paid like $300 for them or something like that. All of them came from one guy. I think all but one of them came from one guy who had like, I don't know. I think at some point he said he had like 25 or 30 of them. And so like I think there's always going to be that in trading card games. The difference is the culture of that is not the driving force of the Genesis culture is not, hey, this is going to be free tendies in 10 years. The driving force of the culture that I see in Genesis is, hey, this game's super fun to play. It's highly interactive. The board game mechanic's really good. Like that's the driving force of the culture. I think that's what George is trying to say.
Hey, and I think that's the right way to do it. Let's look back in the history. There is a game that came out a long time ago that has very high valuable stuff that nobody was holding on to, and everyone was just sliding it across pavement and playing with one another. And
Pokemon.
If Genesis is doing it that way, even Pokemon, if Genesis is doing it that way, that's a way to do it, and that's a great culture. That's a cool culture.
I was stunned by the difference of the Genesis events and the other new TCG events I've run for other games.
Yeah.
I mean this. Nobody came in and was like, I want cases. Like what happened was they bought a box, they cracked it, they got what they wanted, they didn't. They bought another box that they didn't.
Yeah.
That's such a fun time at the LGS when you crack the box and then you're like scraping your pocket. You're like, how much more can I?
We had one of the 3 pre-alpha angels pulled in my store. No big deal.
I think I saw the post. I think you shared it with me, so that makes it less impressive. But I saw it.
That is bananas.
I love the box toppers in the set. All right.
So good.
I will eventually have my Kickstarter boxes for sale once I figure out if George is doing a promo with me or not.
I am.
No, you said you sold all your boxes and you sold all your promo cards.
Boxes. I'm getting a restock.
What about your promo cards?
I got like a few left.
We're not going to be able to. It's probably just going to be mine. So
nobody wants your promo without me. They know I carry this.
Yeah, I guess so. Probably. Yeah, I'll just have all mine left. So, all right, moving on. Let's go. Let's talk about Cryptic. Cryptic's 5-year plan. Great conversation.
Your plan. That was a stupid title. Here is what I want to talk about.
Can you let somebody else talk at some point in the podcast?
Yeah, guys, go ahead.
No.
Go ahead. Talk about your conversation with Tanner about it. Go ahead. Talk about your conversation with Tanner about it.
All right. George had a conversation with Tanner. Go ahead, George.
No, go aid. I want to hear what you said.
No, go ahead. You had the conversation.
If everyone else is giving away promos, I'm giving promos away. I'm signing Gallagher readers.
The hell is that?
My gosh. How many do you have?
What is that?
I know where those came from. Gosh.
Yeah, you do.
George, you're
those
so
bad. Cards?
You're so bad at Magic.
No.
You're so bad at Magic knowledge.
I knew about The Walking Dead.
Those Gallagher were in every box of New Capenna as the box topper. Every single box.
True?
Yeah. Collector, draft, set, every single box.
Yeah.
Why? That's terrible.
Yeah, it's a terrible decision.
That's a terrible idea. Watsy.
Wasn't great.
Mark Rosewater. Come on, next week and defend yourself, you coward. The tone changes, Mark.
I don't co-sign or condone that message at all.
I'm all for it. Let's go, Mark. Come on.
Please don't cancel.
Come on, Mark. What's wrong with you?
All right, Cryptic.
So Tanner said this in a Discord, so I'm allowed to share it, I feel. Regular hollows have already been diluted by every game on the market. People want something more. Really, I think the market wants effort. They want creators to take the time to create variants that are actually cool, but also very limited.
Yeah. Tanner gets it, man.
This dude gets it.
Yeah. I love that you were wrong about Cryptic, and that
I was not
right.
wrong about Cryptic.
You,
it's the one game you said out of your 85 games you pump that I said I was in on. You talk about 85 games.
No,
I said I was in on Genesis and Cryptic and Zoo. But Zoo was really me.
Listen, there's no evidence of this, but people can believe who they want, and they can, word for word.
Louis, don't go down that road. You're gonna lose so hard. Do not.
I'm not touching any more of your stupid new card games. Word for word, what you said when I told you about Cryptic the first time. I'm not touching any more of your stupid new card games.
You talk about every one of them. You tried to get Ollie and me.
I love them.
The content creator who cried wolf.
I love
the content creator who cried in DTCG.
When I talked to Tanner on my podcast, on my channel, and he told me that wave 2 of their first box, which is ironically called Genesis. I know, everyone, it's all very confusing. But when he told
Genesis Origins Cryptic Edition, continue.
When he told me
okay, I have to call it that now. They have to call it Genesis Origins Cryptic Edition. I want the crossover. I have both of your numbers. Assad and Tanner, hit me up. We're doing the crossover, baby.
Can Tanner afford the IP? Let's bring it home. Can he afford the IP?
But when he said that wave 2 was going to have special foils that Kickstarter wouldn't have, and that it was going to, add to the thing, I was like, man, Tanner gets it. He understands the collectability. And I think looking at, I think he's really been looking at print run numbers. He's really been looking at how to organically, see that kind of growth happen, and understanding from lessons of other stuff. He's really watching it.
In that same Discord, somebody asked him where he wants Cryptic to be in 5 years. 5 years from now.
Cryptic's 5-year plan.
And he said, I want to be doing 3 sets of 50,000 boxes.
Wow.
3 sets of 30,000 or 50,000 boxes? Hold on, let me put that up.
I think you told me it was 35,000.
35,000, you're right. I'm putting it up.
Everyone, don't ever listen to George's print run numbers. It's all speculation.
It's all speculation. Me and Rudy.
So 3 sets a year, 35,000 boxes per set.
Yes.
How many players now let me ask you, how many players, like active players of the game, people that are engaging with the game, let's say weekly, does he assume print runs of that size will support?
I would assume 50,000.
Okay. So he's planning to have he's working towards a 50,000 player base. Yeah. So okay.
Here's the thing, though. I don't think that Tanner is committing to 35,000 boxes.
No,
he's saying he's not like calling the printers.
Ceiling.
He's not calling the printers, being like, "Hey guys,
5 years from now, man,
put me on the hook for these boxes." I think it shows. When you told me that, when you showed me that screenshot, George, I think what it shows to me is that his views of the growth of the game are very realistic. What he's not saying is in 5 years we're going to overtake Magic the Gathering. In 5 years we're going to be the biggest TCG. What he's saying is, I want to grow, and in 5 years this is the size I want to be. I like that a lot. I think that's not every game that comes out in 2021 can overtake Magic the Gathering in 2024. It's just not possible. There can't be a top 18.
That's not a thing.
There can't be a top 18. And I think what Tanner gets is something that my channel has tried to present, which is there are communities that will fall in love with Cryptic. There are LGSs whose community will fall in love with Cryptic. That doesn't mean that you go to every LGS across America and they're going to carry Cryptic, but there are communities that will really love it. There are communities already seeing that love Legions. There are communities you're seeing at your store that loves Genesis. There are communities that love Flesh and Blood. People can create communities around these games, and that's what I'm passionate about on the channel. So that's I think Tanner really, really gets that.
That's a sick way to grow too. Like it's less volatile. The people that are growing with the game are going to feel more connected. Just from a player standpoint, if I'm with one of these games, let's say I jump into Genesis and I love it, or I jump into Cryptid and it just becomes my jam.
Cryptic, Magic Historian, Cryptic.
I said cryptic.
No,
You did not. You said cryptid. Mac, calm down, Hack. It's all right. Continue.
Hatcher called it cryptic, which was absolutely hilarious.
God, Hatcher's great.
Well, first of all, if I jump into one of these games and they become my jam, I probably won't make a channel about their lore because I don't care about lore in any of this. But I will feel more connected with it if I grow with the game. Like if I'm with my tight-knit community, I grow with them, I'm going to like the game way more than if I just jump into this big pool of players. That's why I think it's so much easier to stick with some of these smaller or newer TCGs. You get connected. Like you make friends that you wouldn't have otherwise have. You start going out to dinner with people. Like you said, Thursday night at the LGS is like hang out with this group.
Yeah. Yep. No, that's good. And they get it. And I think they are being careful about that. So
here is my word of warning to Tanner.
Here we go.
Oh, I want to end with this. The prices right now for Cryptic, in my opinion, are insane. Totally banana pants.
We're seeing all these new games. Like, it's so funny, the downturn in the overall market. Meanwhile, like Cryptic and Sorcery, like completely pumping, and they're not even released a box.
That crazy pricing is not Tanner's fault. He releases the product. What the market does, not his fault. If you rely on that information, it is your fault. If you look at that information and go like, I can produce 10 trillion boxes because there's all this demand, that is your fault. I don't think Tanner will do that. He's told me privately he won't do that. I have no problem sharing that. I think he'd want me to share that candidly. He's taking print runs seriously. But like to all these games, if you follow what the market's doing with your boxes, knowing it makes no sense, that is on you.
Well, I think they have to create unique items that don't line up with the boxes. Like their booster decks, and we've talked about this, like Cryptics, they're perfect. It allows them to do something different. It allows them to get more cards into the hands of players without affecting the box prices and without it being a collector's thing. It is strictly for the players and for the LGSs. And that's the type of creativity that I think is gold for a game like Cryptic.
Listen, like I think Tanner gets it. He's doing these variants that are color variants, just like they did in Sports Card. They're out of certain numbers. Like he is building in collectability, even while making it so that playable cards are not that expensive.
Yep.
Love it. He gets it. I think Cryptic is going to make a big splash on the market.
I'm interested to follow this. Yeah. Sorry. No, I'm just interested to follow everything you're saying as a player, right? He's really controlling these print runs. The boxes are very expensive right now, but you're telling me there's a way that Tanner's getting more people into the community and getting people still to be able to buy in and play the game at a reasonable rate. And that's kind of the secret sauce, in my opinion, because I like the balance of both. And if that's the case, the sky's the limit here, right? If you've achieved that balance and found the sauce, there's nothing stopping that community from being stable.
Tanner is, you know what? I'm going to say it. Tanner is, I think, the most dangerous person in TCGs right now. Like he is doing something very against the grain. He's thinking about these hard things. I think Tanner is somebody who I am closely watching.
I love that George talks in such extremities. Like Tanner can also just be like can also just be like a really good game designer and businessman, and like it could just be like great. It doesn't have to be like he's not going to end the life of every other TCG in the world.
That's it. Next week, TCG creator draft.
Oh my gosh, it's like the West Virginia thing I sent you guys.
TCG creator draft, snake draft. We will roll for draft position. Let's do it. I got my draft board ready to go.
All right. Speaking of,
I would have no problem with that. Somebody's YouTube channel is based on 85,000 games liking him.
MetaZoo's auxiliary products. So we're seeing a lot of continued. Why are you looking at me like that? This is my transition.
Where you're going with this? Go ahead.
This is my transition. We got to keep the podcast rolling. We can't just listen to you. Whatever. All right. Auxiliary products from MetaZoo. Lots and lots of products coming out. We have the booster boxes. George, you're distracting me a lot right now.
Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. That's way better. Gosh, the screen just got so much more beautiful. Can you cover up your face again?
I will in a second with one of the fingers.
So we're seeing a lot of
this is banana pants.
We're seeing a lot of the MetaZoo auxiliary products perform really well, whereas the booster boxes are, kind of not performing as well for the market. And what are our takes on that?
Well, not performing as well is generous at best, but let's be honest. We talked about this last week. MetaZoo's I mentioned the secret sauce, and it's funny when I say it. I laugh a little, so I'm going to say it again. The secret sauce for MetaZoo that's the secret sauce for MetaZoo is the IP, right? And if they can find that balance, right, and they're starting to explore these auxiliary products, that could be a good stabilization point for them when the booster boxes might suffer a little bit or the events aren't firing kind of like they want to. These auxiliary products could be something that takes them to that next level or gets them through this otherwise not great market winter. So these have to hit, right? Like this can't be your business concept, like this IP, and these miss. These have to be good.
Yeah. We've talked about this before where people who love MetaZoo, they buy everything. They are all in on everything. I think what I've noticed in watching people purchasing whatever, they are buying less booster boxes. They, at one point, and I see this on my orders, at one point they may have bought a case or they may have bought a half case, 6 boxes or 12 boxes of the new product, and now they're buying 1 or 2 boxes, and then they're also buying the auxiliary products. And as they produce more and more of these auxiliary products, I think that wall of fatigue really kicks in, and that goes towards the eBay boxes or the Steve Aoki CD box and that thing. So they save their money for those other boxes, and that in turn affects the booster box price. So it's
they're going wide.
Yeah. It's a super interesting thing. I mean, I think it's weird. I think it's different for TCGs. It's much more connected to like the Pokemon side of things in my mind. Like that's a lot of what I see with Pokemon is people like, they buy one of the tins and then they have it, or they buy the pin collection or whatever because they want the pins. So it's definitely different for a lot of people, I think, who only follow like Magic and not Pokemon. But
let me throw something to you then, George, as my resident economics professor who doesn't want to hear about it. Do you think that with a smaller, and I don't want to say smaller, an indie TCG that picks this IP go wide strategy, do you think there's a chance they suffer from whether they stuck to one thing and it's the booster box, or whether they went wide and they have the booster box and they have the pins and the Yoki? Do you think that there's only so much money in the market that's going to come their way anyway? So while all of these things might look lower, overall they're making a larger impact. Do you think that's the case, or is it too thin?
And that's kind of where I wanted to go with it. Was I think the hard part for MetaZoo is, I think fairly, and I suspect Mike might say unfairly. I'm sure he'll put in the comments section if he thinks it's fair or unfair, and that's great. I want to hear his thoughts on it candidly. Games are currently judged by their booster box price. That's it. That's how they're gauged, right? It makes no difference if I buy a Steve Aoki CD for $10 and now it's worth $50. If the booster box is MSRP 140 and it's selling for 70, the game's not doing well. And I think that MetaZoo's in this weird spot where everything but the booster boxes, and like frankly the booster boxes and the theme decks and the release decks,
the main products,
they're doing well. And to me, like, this is the biggest reason why I think MetaZoo should crater their print runs, because at the end of the day, there's like, look at the Aoki CD, look at the stupid M keyboard key. They sold a ton of them in 5 seconds. Are you kidding me? Like, there's real demand for MetaZoo still.
Did you say the M? Isn't the F?
I thought it was an M on that you had to replace the F key with.
Oh, I don't have one. I didn't get one.
Wow.
Yeah, I think my keyboard didn't work that day.
This is where I think MetaZoo gets judged a little bit unfairly, and mainly, especially in the
That's
circles.
my point. That's
especially
exactly
in the
my
circles
point.
I run in, 100%. Because I've always been the player, right? And again, you see that I've started collecting since I started the YouTube, but I've always been the player that plays these games. And when that's the only way I interact with the product, that's why when you talk about Baldur's Gate and D&D affecting the Magic set, my take is always if the set was good, it would have sold, right? MetaZoo it's almost built itself a shield because all these other indie TCGs, if the box tanks, the indie TCG is in trouble, but MetaZoo has a little bit of a shield with the IP, a little bit of a shield where some people like to collect the pins, and maybe it gets them through a market winter or something.
Yeah, let me be very clear here. I have no insider information on this whatsoever. My gut is that just that man's gut. It does not matter at all to MetaZoo's bottom line what happens to the booster box sales.
Yeah.
They're doing so well on all these other products. They sell out so fast. They sell so many that the booster boxes are almost like not even the cherry on top. It's like those disgusting flavorless sprinkles. It's it's like stuff you really don't need.
That was my
but they make
nickname
it
in
look
college.
pretty.
We had this conversation in the MetaZoo Be With You Discord or chat in my Discord server,
Which
where
you can get to if you're a patron of Louis.
Yeah, that'd be great.
You're welcome, Louis.
But we
I'm on the Discord too, by the way.
MetaZoo, like the amount of money, like it doesn't matter if something doesn't perform. They have the time to wait for it to perform, or they have the
that's
time
the shield. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that's completely completely it.
Here would be my argument to Mike. Right now, fairly or unfairly, I think it is fair to be honest, but that's all right. Fairly or unfairly, games are judged by how well their booster boxes perform on the secondary.
Yeah.
Right now, people look at me and go like, your prices are tanking. And I'm like, wait a minute. Faint Art Blisters to the moon.
Yeah.
Aoki CDs, killing it. M Keyboards, killing it. There's all these products that are doing well, that they sell out instantly. They do all these things, but people will still always point to the booster box. So just print less. Just print less. And also, like, frankly, like this is where you have a unique opportunity because you print in China that you can kind of lean on your printer more. So you can do more small waves like Magic does. Stop saying 100,000 boxes. Say, I'm going to do one wave of 20,000. That's my first wave. If I think I need a second wave, I'm going to do a second wave of 15,000.
It'll still be first edition.
It'll still be first edition.
Yeah. One box to rule them all. Yeah.
And like, I think that is a lot healthier. I also think like that is how you get this price up. Because I mean, like, I think it's unfair, candidly, the way people are judging MetaZoo right now. I get why, but like I don't think it's a full picture. Is my point.
What would be a fair picture of how to judge MetaZoo then in your mind?
Look at the products they've released in the last year. See how they're doing.
I would like to see I would like to see from MetaZoo a reinvestment in themselves. I would like to see that money go into improving a lot of the things that in 2021 MetaZoo could not have as a result of being a newer game. But like, I would like to see reinvestment in a website, reinvestment in
the website.
Listen, it's a big thing. It's a
big Caster Society website. They have a great website for
the
MetaZoo.
Caster Society isn't where you go when you search MetaZoo. If you're watching our podcast and you're like, all right, these
What's
three bozos look at these 18 million games, and you go to the Sorcery website, and you go to the Cryptic website, and you go to the MetaZoo website, and you go to whatever website you want to go to that we talk about the games.
MarkRosewater.com.
Mark Rosewater's blog.
Hey, that guy's blog is sick.
When you go
Does he have a blog?
When you go to a website, MetaZoo doesn't look like the most popular one of those games. Like it doesn't look like that. But it is the biggest one of those games that we talk about. Like,
oh, sure. Absolutely.
By far. But the website doesn't do that. So I would like to see a reinvestment in that. I would honestly like to see them share the MetaZoo Play Network numbers. I'd love, we have transparency for booster boxes. I'd love transparency for, hey, this is how many people. And listen, I don't care what those numbers are. I don't need those numbers to be specifically for MetaZoo. Like, I don't need those numbers to be impressive. What I need to know is that these numbers are growing. And I think as a partner store, I'm a partner. As a partner store, I would love to know, to see my, I'm a partner, baby. I would love to see my contributions to that week to week grow, and to see how they could think of a really, really cool thing for those metrics.
I want them to reinvest in two things, and two things only: TV show, video game.
For sure.
That's it.
So
that's not it.
Everything else, every nickel of profit that you get from everything else should go to those two things.
Then it's okay. So George is an economics professor. Louis is a partner. I'll just be king then for my take. Then I don't care about those MetaZoo. I don't care about those MetaZoo Play Network numbers. You guys have just spent a good amount of time describing to me and a lot of other TCG players and enthusiasts that MetaZoo goes beyond the card game. It's more than the card game. So because of that, if you start publishing those play numbers and they're not what the TCG community deems acceptable, it doesn't do anything. It does nothing. Matter. But if you start publishing information about the other products and that becomes mainstream and we start hearing about that, the realization that this is an IP, it's outside, it's going wide, it's not focused on the card game, then maybe that understanding hits in and people can warm up to MetaZoo. Right now, the zoo, when I think of the zoo, I think of player numbers and I think of George saying there was 150 people in an event, and I think of me going, ugh, like that is not what I love as a player. But when we talk about the larger picture and all of the things the zoo has going on, that's a much more interesting story. That's something that could draw me in to maybe want to play the game.
Gosh, just the name the zoo. That's what gets me. You can just call it the zoo. Like they should just rebrand it to the zoo. I don't know.
Well, I thought that's what we were going to rebrand.
Calm down, Sean Parker. It's all right. Continue.
Drop the.
So I had a couple come in on, it must have been Saturday. It's like 10:15, and I was getting ready to like close the shop up.
This is just about the people who walk into your game store.
I know. My life. I should have a YouTube channel where it's just like live stream. Anyway, and it's just like this couple. They drove 40 minutes to my store. They drove 40 minutes to my store to buy MetaZoo. Nobody ever walks into my store to buy anything other than Magic the Gathering and Pokemon. Off the street, walking. Everything else is me begging people to buy stuff like that. Like that's.
Please, I don't have anything. My distributor screwed me.
I know. I have the text.
Pre-order Warhammer decks.
I have the text.
But like, this is probably the fifth or sixth group of people who have walked in looking for MetaZoo, and it's amazing. You know, I said, hey, we're going to do a learn to play event next Thursday. I hope you guys will come. And they said, I wish we could, but we live too far away. And that kind of thought of like the group of people. What?
No, that's just fascinating. They drove to the store because they like the zoo and they want the box or they want the stuff, but they just have no. And I'm not saying there wasn't a lean back in a bad way. That's just fascinating to me.
I think the difference is Saturday to Thursday. Like Thursday, they have to go to work the next day. Saturday, they were just killing time on a Saturday.
Yeah, that wasn't a bad lean back. I was like, oh, that's the IP is working then.
But I do think that if you're going to continue to do 100,000 boxes, that kind of thing, you have to have a point for those boxes. You can't just have cards with no value on TCG Player.
I think that's true.
You have to have a growing populace of people playing the game, and that's what I like to see. I agree. By publishing those numbers, that was probably a bad take. By publishing those numbers, you're going to have more negativity come as a result, and that's probably not what you want. But
listen, I think MetaZoo needs to relook at their boxes. They need to find a way to add more $20 cards into the boxes. They have to. They have to. I mean, it can't be this type of aura, a card that's impossible to pull, or $3.
So, are you against them just saying, like, hey, we said we were going to do 100,000 boxes, but obviously that's too many, and so we're scaling back on the next set to like. I think people would be against that. I think people would be like, oh, see,
why?
But non-MetaZoo fans would be against that. I think they'd be like, "Oh, see, look, MetaZoo failed." But I think
get a lot of idiots. You would get a ton of snap reactions saying exactly that. But that doesn't mean it's not good.
Here's the difference between me and you, Louis. I don't care what idiots think about stuff. That's one of our big differences. If an idiot says something idiotic, I think they're an idiot, and I still go about my day completely fine. And Mike should too. Like, if somebody says like, "Oh, look, ha ha ha, you can't sell 100,000 boxes," yeah. Not yet.
I just think
wait a year.
It's baffling to me a lot of these new TCGs, their print runs of their next boxes are going to be less than the original boxes. Like, not the original, but like looking at like scaling and moving forward. But if you think about that happened to Pokemon too. I know.
That happens to Magic between sets intermittently, and it doesn't even depend on the size of the community in the market. It's just how it's absorbed. So that's fine.
There's going to be less Fusion Strike than there will be at some of these other sets. I will guarantee that.
Gosh, I love Fusion Strike. That Gengar is amazing. Can we do a Pokemon podcast?
I hear they're coming out with products in McDonald's.
Yes, they are. That got cut, everyone. Welcome to the end of the podcast. I wanted to talk about McDonald's Pokemon cards, and these two bozos had no clue that it even was a thing.
That is not accurate. That is not accurate at all. I told you that your Discord was already mocking you for this.
And I told you it wasn't in the USA.
Which I don't think is true, but I don't really know.
It started today.
Yeah.
It started today. I went to Wendy's with my daughter today, and as I was sitting there and she was opening this stupid like Gundam, like put the thing together, and it's just I was like, man, we could have gone to McDonald's to get Pokemon cards. I'm such a terrible father. Like gosh.
If you could ask him to buy the case, you could ask him how much it would cost to buy like the sealed case of the Pokemon card.
They won't do that anymore. Well, I'm sure they will.
Did you ask? Did you ask?
I will do it.
Did you ask? I don't believe you. I believe you did. I just want to make sure that's very much
can that be
on the
a vlog?
record.
Everyone look forward to that vlog on the channel where Louis gets shot down at the local McDonald's.
I had a McChicken the other day. Not as good as I remembered.
Oh, no. The only thing worth getting at McDonald's is Diet Coke.
The Diet Coke there has something in the syrup. There's something in the syrup. No, it's not the
syrup. There's been a whole study. It's that they triple filter their water.
There was a study on this?
Oh yeah.
It's like
Really?
It's a common.
Next week we're going to discuss the scientific elements of the Diet Coke at McDonald's.
Sometimes I go to McDonald's just to get my drink after going to like Taco Bell or another restaurant.
I'll stop on the way after playing basketball on like Monday nights at like 11 o'clock and get a Diet Coke and a water from the McDonald's. It's that good. I'll go out of my way.
Here. You will stop on your way back from a physical activity, and Louis will stop there on his way back from Taco Bell.
I'll stop on my way from Taco Bell and in between on my way to Sheetz to get the candy bar. All right, everyone.
Here's what's great is I know that's true because I've been on the phone with you when you do this trek.
Yeah, and you tell me not to distracted drive. Eating, talking with George, ordering soda.
Listen.
My favorite part is he'll do this with his ear pods in his ear while he's like munching on his Taco Bell on his way to McDonald's in Sheetz.
You're a great podcast, Dad.
I lost my AirPods somewhere. Anyway,
that's why you didn't call me as much today.
That's why I haven't called you all week because I have to hold my phone. It's like talking.
Is that why you didn't answer my call? You're like
100%. Listen,
I can't be bothered to lift this phone.
Talking to George is a chore, but it's a chore that's unbearable if you don't have an earphone in.
All right, this is the end of the podcast one more time.
Then I know why you didn't have your AirPods. And here's what's great, people. That's absolutely the actual reason.
100%.
That's absolutely the actual reason he didn't pick up today.
When you talk to somebody for 2.5 hours, you can't just like be holding a phone the whole time.
You talk to Louis for 2.5 hours?
Every day.
Occasionally. Listen, I'm going to therapy this week.
You're the code.
It's the first time. All right, everyone. May the zoo be with you. Let's end this podcast. We've derailed. We're both unemployed. We have nothing to do. You have a job. The other day I called you. You were like, all right, man, I got to go back to work. I was like,
you only called me because you had a 5-hour drive and George hung up on you. I was your backup.
No.
Nobody's backup.
No. You're my late night call.
That makes sense.
You and I talk for like 3 hours But I don't call you if I don't have my headphones because I have to work. I have to do things all the time. Anyway.
You have to ship orders.
You have to do Jesse's job.
Okay, everyone. Goodbye. May the soup be with you.
And also with you, Louie.
And also with you.
And remember to be kind to the people around you.